Hi everyone, my name's Stephanie. I'm an Australian prep teacher and resource creator. I love giving out tips to new prep teachers or new kindergarten teachers just to help them set themselves up for a good year. Let's get into another tip. So today's tip is all about a very real problem that you have in the classroom, and that is how do you deal with the wide range of abilities of writers in your prep classroom. In all my years of teaching, I've never had students come in all on the same level. You particularly in prep get quite a range. You've got kids coming in not knowing any letters or sounds, and then you've got other kids coming in already writing sentences, and it can be really hard to manage. So today's tips are all about how to deal with that range. My first tip would be to have different expectations for your students. We need to teach them where they're at, and if you have a student that comes in, can't write anything, you might just expect for them to be able to copy a simple word that the teacher has scribed for them. It might be cat. They might just copy that. Whereas if you've had students come in already knowing how to write, you might expect them to write 1, 2, or even 3 sentences. You can't expect your students to do the same. We need to meet them where they're at. My second tip is to make sure that your classroom is filled with really functional resources that your students can access. I used to put up things like shape posters, squares and triangles and things that my kids would never use. Whereas these days I fill it with actually functional resources that particularly help them with their writing. So it's full of things like word lists, that students can take to their tables. Then I have things like sentence starters, these little sentence starter strips that students can again take to their tables. I really think it's important to fill your room with rich resources that are going to help your students. They're going to help your beginning writers, and they're going to help your more capable writers, because these kinds of word lists actually help them to inspire writing ideas. My third tip is to use a bump it up wall. Now, a bump it up wall is probably too long for me to explain in this video, so my next video is going to be all about the bump it up wall. But basically it's a visual resource that you have in your classroom that all your students can use, no matter what level they're at. It's there to help them improve their writing, no matter whether at the lower end or the higher end. So just to recap those tips on how to deal with quite a range of abilities in your classroom. Number 1, have different expectations for students, meet them where they're at. Number 2 is have a classroom that's full of functional resources that's going to help improve their writing. And number 3 is to use a bump it up wall, which I'll talk more about in the next video. I just wanted to add in one last little point that, you're going to have a range of students with different abilities in your classroom, and the most important thing I think is to make sure that they all feel successful. I never want my students who are on the lower end to feel less valuable or less successful than the students who are writing more and more. So it's really important that all students feel success and that you celebrate all the different learners. As always, hit like and subscribe so you get notified when the next video comes out, and keep an eye out for that because it's going to be all about how to use a bump it up wall in your classroom. I'll see you soon.